Hi everybody, and welcome to Sketch2C. In last week's episode, I left you with a little bit of a cliffhanger, and for those of you who didn't view it, you should go back and watch it, but this is what happened. So in this episode, I'm not only going to tell you the results, but I'm going to address some of the viewer comments that were left on the last episode. So stay tuned. I really hope you enjoy this episode. So before I get into the meat of this video, I just want to address a few viewer comments. This person just gets me every single time. As much as he clearly does not like us and does not like our boat and want anything to do with us, he keeps watching our videos and keeps leaving very negative and inaccurate comments. So I'm going to address this one publicly and on camera. This one's for you, at Douglas Arrington Music. I will post the comments as well. This one's just a little bit longer, so I will just go point by point. Brand new boat with corrosion. I got a few comments that dealt with corrosion and specifically went back and looked at the footage and looked at the pictures. There is no corrosion in these pictures. Titanium also doesn't really corrode, and the previous plate that left and is broken, it shows metal fatigue where it broke, no corrosion. What you're seeing, if you think the corrosion was behind the titanium plate and against the mast, it's where the glue that we use to assist in attaching the titanium plate to the mast peeled off and sheared off with the paint. There is no corrosion up there to be seen. So you continue on, say sounds like inferior materials, aka the tendency to substitute local products for cheaper products. And then you go on and say, why did this happen? Poor supervision and inspection. HH keeps meticulous records. They actually documented the tension on every single bolt on our mast. I don't even know how many bolts that is, but we went back and asked the exact same question, and that was their response. They sent us the report. No need for me to show it. As I mentioned, inferior stainless steel has plagued Chinese boats for a long time, whether built in Taiwan or on the mainland. Also, your anti-fouling paint seems like a substitution to have that much buildup in so short of a time. Yeah, I don't even know what to say. Copper coat is supposed to go green. There was little to nothing on it when we pulled it out of the water. We had more of an issue with the prop speed, but that's being addressed separately. So thank you so much for the comment once again. And if you are going to continue or choose to continue to leave negative and inaccurate information in our comment section, we would definitely prefer that you moved on to another vessel or another channel. Thank you again for watching. Another viewer comment, pbear6251. I would imagine HH was front and center during all of this kerfuffle. On the close-up of the part that broke, it looked like there was a lot of corrosion where there should be in a boat this new. I just addressed that in the previous comment. Those shiny new track parts will look out of place on an otherwise black mast. Well, the previous shiny new track parts were also titanium. Again, no corrosion, and they are only at the reefing points. So it's going to look identical to how it did in the past. I'll be interested to see, in fact, if you were hit by some, I will be interested to see if in fact you were hit by lightning or some other mast was hit, and if there's any damage to your electronics. I like this part of the comment. I await your next episode with chocolate chip cookie in hand. Well, thank you for the comment, and you'll just have to stay tuned and see if we were actually hit by lightning. Coming up soon. Just another comment I wanted to address, at Craig Overend. He makes a few comments on the fasteners. I'll address that separately. Looks like fatigue failure, gray and then shiny edge, and the fix is more bolts. Yes, you are correct. It was fatigue failure. So what happened when this incident happened? We were in a very, very heavy sea state and only 3 to 4 knot winds, and we were under full sail. So just the shock load from the pendulum effect of the mast being 30 meters up in the air in a heavy sea state with full main caused the masthead car to pull the top section of the track off, which separated at the bolts. So yes, it is fatigue failure. The fix is definitely more bolts, but it's also a redesigned track. So previously we had an I-shaped track, previously we had a T-shaped track. Now we have an I-shaped track, which gives at least twice the surface area against the mast, combined with more bolts. So yes, we do think that is the fix because, as you've said in your comment, you look very closely at the bolt failure, and it was a failure at the bolts. So widening the base of the track against the mast will allow more surface area and spread the load off of the bolts, and then doubling the number of bolts will strengthen the bolts specifically. I just wanted to add a quick comment though. Our mast was supplied by Marstrom and all of our running rigging, and I don't know if this includes the track or not, but I know this includes the masthead car, was supplied by Rigging Projects. Relatively well-known companies, and a lot of their technology has been tried and tested, and this we just think is a one-of unique failure when we push the end of engineering, and you have to keep in mind that there's never been a boat like this built before. Not with the gross tonnage, not with the specific sail plan, and not used for these specific purposes. Once you get into a boat this size, rarely do they weigh 70 tons unless they're a Sunreef, then they weigh 130 something tons, but then they don't move. And the other part of that comparison is when you're engineering a boat like this to go fast, you don't build in 10x safety factors. You build in, I don't know, 2, maybe 3 for certain components. Whereas in a Sunreef, you would build in a 10x safety factor because weight's just not an issue. And that's why you get a Sunreef 80 that weighs 132 tons, and you get an HH 88 that weighs 70 tons on the dot. I hope between my responses online and this segment here that clarifies everything for everybody. Now let's get into the meat of this episode. So what happens now? Well, as soon as the storm is cleared, the first step was a visual inspection. This situation was a bit different, as normally we would have known instantly if we were hit or not, but at the time the storm hit, the only item that we had the opportunity to reconnect out of the mast-based loom was the lightning protection system itself. All of our electronics were still working, and it is impossible to say if it had anything to do with the fact that they weren't connected to the mast or not. So, first step, visual inspection. Luckily, we have a drone on board, which we quickly set up the next morning. It revealed that there was definitely something going on up there. Another lucky item, we have load cell pins in our shrouds that tell us the tension of the rigging. Normally is set around 7.2 tons per side. If there had been a material change in this reading, it could have indicated that there was something wrong with the mast, and we could not visually confirm. At this point, the readings were holding steady. The next step was a manual visual inspection. That's right, time to send somebody up the mast. It was at this point that we actually noted the damage. What you're seeing here is what we saw once we got to the top of the mast. In this image, you can see that there is some separation in the various laminates at the top of the mast. Worrisome, yes, but still not conclusive evidence of what did or did not happen. It was, however, enough to indicate that we could not safely use our sails for the time being. This was slightly heartbreaking. We had just gone through this huge exercise of having the mast taken off the boat and repaired just so we could sail again. And here we are in the exact same position, but for a whole new unsettling reason. We were due to leave Singapore in the next 48 hours for what we thought would be the last time, when we were planning on approximately a month on the water. We realized pretty quickly that once again we were going to have an unexpected change of plans. That being said, thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned. Ha! Just kidding. I wouldn't do that to you. We got to work reaching out to contractors and scheduling the necessary diagnostics. And as we were doing this, we realized that everyone needed a fair bit of lead time. So it didn't make sense to cancel our entire trip and just wait around in the marina. It did mean, however, that we were headed back to Singapore for a third time. We made the most of it and had a mostly relaxing time motoring around beautiful Indonesia. And we actually got to welcome our first guests on board for 2 weeks, which was a great way to break things up. Shortly after saying goodbye to them, we headed back to Raffles Marina to get the verdict on the mast. The final inspection that we needed is what's called an NDT scan, or an ultrasound scan of the entire mast. This would reveal if the various laminate layers within the mast structure itself showed any type of separation. This is the same technology that they use in aerospace applications, for example, scanning the wings of aircraft and jet fan blades. There's a company in Singapore that has the necessary equipment to properly scan our mast, and after we shared all the evidence that we had gathered to this point, they felt comfortable going up the mast to perform the complete scan. They started at the top where we saw the visual damage, and I showed you earlier in the photo, here it is again, and then they spent the next 6 hours scanning the entire mast on the way down. This is what their report revealed. I can't tell you the feeling of relief we all experienced when we heard the verdict that this was not lightning damage. But where do we go from here? There is clearly superficial yet real damage there that did not exist before the mast was removed from the yacht, and we don't know where it came from. The inspection team does not speculate on the cause of the damage. They only comment on what they witnessed during the inspection. They leave the guessing game up to us. Some people might not realize that masts are made up in multiple pieces and then assembled. Ours specifically is made in 3 pieces and has 2 different types of laminates on it. The main part is made out of prepreg carbon, and then there's additional carbon laminated to the prepreg in a few different sections. I'm telling you this because sometimes the bond between the two can give way under stress. This stress could come from a variety of sources: lifting the mast, uneven heat distribution, impact, or even impurities in the laminating process. What I'm trying to say is I actually don't know how the mast was damaged or why it happened now. If you have any guesses, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'm sure that some of you will say that there still could have been a strike and the LPS did its job, and technically you're correct. But that's not the way that we are leaning right now. Our LPS is funny in the way that we aren't sure if we will ever be able to say definitively if it's doing its job. Did we not get hit by lightning, or did we get hit by lightning and not know it because the LPS is working? What we can say definitively is that we were given the all clear to sail again, and that's great. And the other big item that we know is, now that we have a conclusive report outlining that this is not consistent with lightning damage, it falls under warranty of the vessel and has already been acknowledged and a repair confirmed. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Please like, subscribe, and share. One small click from you goes a long way for us. Wait, hold on. People ask me why I say that line, and the answer is simple. I get more motivated to make these videos based on the amount of subscribers and comments. I enjoy the interaction and watching the growth. So please, if you don't mind, we'll try this again. Like, subscribe, and share. We really do appreciate it. If you're not already, please follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And as always, if you have any questions or just want to talk about boats, you can always reach out to me at sketchtosea@gmail.com. Thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you again soon.